going on, Mikey?
Hello, Chris. Welcome to Chinatown Gang Stories.
How you doing? All right?
Good. It's been quite a while.
Yeah, I haven't seen you, man. How's things?
Good. So let me introduce myself and you to this channel. If it's your first time on this channel, hello, my name is Michael Moy, and I'm a retired NYPD detective. I served the NYPD from 1995 to 2021. I served a little over 26 years with the New York City Police Department. Spent 9 years as a uniform patrol officer and 17 years as a detective. How about you?
Well, pretty much the same. I got on in February 94. I was a cop until 99. I went to Brooklyn South Warrants for a couple of years. After 9/11, I went back to the detective squad in the 70th. I worked in the 6-1. I bounced around. I was in Staten Island, 122. And I'm retired now. You know, it's all good.
So we're both retired, and we have a lot of stories to share with you on this channel. And Chris has a lot of dealings with the Asian underworld after you retired, right?
Yes. I worked for several years in karaoke's in Brooklyn.
Yes, so I would definitely like to hear those stories, what it was like in those days. I believe it was around the 2000. It was definitely after 2000, right?
Oh, yeah. After 2012.
After 2012.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's a lot of changes from what I remember the karaoke used to be back in those days in the 80s and the 90s, because I was a former gang member from 1986 up until around 1995.
Oh, all right. Okay.
Yeah, so I'm very familiar with the activities in the karaoke back in those days, and those massage parlors, right?
Yes.
You hear about those too?
Yeah. That the marijuana, the counterfeit goods.
Yes. So,
I started working inside the karaoke, doing a little bouncing work, and it was a little different than anything I've experienced before, like in a regular bar. And at first, the first 10 minutes, I thought there was a fight going on every 10 minutes because everybody speaks very, very loud. The music's really loud. And I was like, holy shit, what am I getting myself into? I was a little nervous in the beginning, but it wasn't that bad. It wasn't that bad at all. It was very lucrative. I made a lot of tips. It was different. It was different than what I was used to. Once in a while I got a little hectic. I probably took dozens of knives off people, brass knuckles, tasers. Well, I did a search on this one particular fella. I don't really want to go into it too much because, it was
you don't have to mention anything, or don't mention the place where you were.
Yeah.
It was in Chinatown.
Yeah, Chinatown. Yeah. And he had a little issue with somebody in the community, and because I don't speak the language, all I know is he walked in the door. I went to search him. I felt what I thought was a gun in his front pocket. He jumped back. Now at that point, once I'm on you, I can't let go. I probably should have just let him go. I end up grabbing him. I grab his pocket. He pulls back. I go, what do you got in your pocket? He pulls the butt of the gun out. I grabbed him. I ripped it out of his pants pocket. He took off, and it turned out that he was in a little bit of a mess. He was gambling a couple hours before. He lost some money. He wanted to take care of somebody inside, but that wasn't happening. And
were there a lot of fights in those places? When people get drunk, they get stupid.
You know what? For the most part, compared to an American bar, like with white people, Spanish, black, nowhere near the amount. But when there was fights, there was fights. There was bar stools being thrown, bottles. Usually, it would start one-on-one, but then it would go out. It would turn into an all-out brawl, and it can get pretty ugly. But the difference in the Chinese community too, like I remember having a fist fight with a guy not long ago, and he took it. I ended up beating the shit out of him. I had no choice whatsoever because I don't know what he was taking, but he was all revved up. And about 2 weeks later, he came back and he gave me $500 in cash. He goes, here, he peeled off 5 bills, and I told him, look, I don't hold any resentments. It happens. What are you gonna do? It happens. Fights happen. You were a little messed up that night. It was 4 a.m. And things happen. I'm not gonna hold a resentment. And that was it.
He tipped you because he felt he was wrong. He was high on drugs.
Yeah, I think his friends told him later on, look,
what an idiot he was acting.
Yeah.
And then he decided, you know what?
Yeah.
He took care of you.
I mean, I remember, like, I'm being totally honest. Like, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I had more problems with the people around the community that would try to get into the bar, because for the most part, the Asian community wants the Asian community in the club.
Well, the people in the community, like, why would they want to try to get into the bar?
Well, they didn't want, what do you call it, Guaylo?
Yeah. Kens and Karens?
Yeah. So the owner pretty much, they were mostly. They spoke Fujianese, and they're just more comfortable, and a lot of times in the community I was working, this was outside of Chinatown at the time, it was a large Hispanic community, and a lot of the fellas in the community, a lot of these Mexican fellas that were drinking, they would try to come in the club, and it wasn't a cheap club. I mean, these guys were dropping $3,000-$4,000 a night, easy. And
what was the tip like back then for you?
The tips were pretty good. We
had on an average night, what will you make?
You know what?
Like on a good weekend.
Oh wow. Well, Monday and Tuesday were the busy nights, and
yeah, because the Fujianese usually take the days off.
Yeah, we would fight.
Monday is like a Friday night, Saturday night.
Yeah.
So what would the tip like be?
The tips were great. Like on Monday and Tuesday nights, we had one fella that would come in. He was like 40 years old, 45 years old. He would come in with two girls under his arm. He'd just stop for a minute. He'd go in his pocket, pull out like 20 grand, hit me with 100, hit me with the other bouncer for 100, and he was golden. He was good for like twice a week, and I could make, on average, I was making sometimes $600-$700 when the club was new for a 6-hour period, which is unheard of. So
you made like average $100 cash an hour.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember Chinese New Year. You
would get the red envelopes.
Yeah, I got the red envelopes. And I said, you know what? This is my favorite holiday ever. Who cares about Christmas? I went home with a wad of cash, and I remember the following year.
So that you're talking like around 2012.
Yeah,
like 10 years
about 2012. So I remember the following year, I made a box and I put it in the vestibule of the club, and one of my friends, he wrote in Chinese, Happy New Year, and I put lights on it, and they got a kick out of it, and I killed it. The owner wasn't too happy, but you know what? I never forced somebody to give me a tip unless they did something ridiculous, But I had one incident. This young kid, he was like 23 years old. He walks out of the club. I'm outside. He walks out. He does a U-turn. He starts urinating on the face of the building. And I have a bad temper, and I was really, really twisted. And he goes to go back into the club. I go, listen, you're not coming back in the club. You just urinated right near the front door. So he stumbles. He gives me $100 bill. I looked at him. I go, you're now a VIP member. And that's how it was. I mean, it was stressful because you really had to be alert, and who your maniacs were. It was the same guys every week, and you had to be careful.
Most likely, were you able to identify who was a gangster, who wasn't?
You know what? To be honest,
who the main players were?
I knew who the players were for sure, because
they were dealing in
Yeah, everything was a business deal. Like, they would come in at first, they weren't comfortable with me until it took years for them to trust me. And they would come in, they'd open up their bag, and I swear to God, there was a couple times $100,000 in their bag, $125,000. I have no idea, but I just wanted to make sure they weren't coming in with a Tech 9,
So when you're searching them, that's the amount of cash you found on them.
Oh yeah, men, women, everybody comes in with cash, everybody. And after a while, you get used to it.
How about the girls? What do the girls charge?
The last I remember, they would charge $150 to date. Like, they dance with the guy. It's pretty much like,
I remember back in those days they used to call them PR girls.
PR girls, public relation girls. Yeah. They call them public relation girls.
Yeah, so they charge $150 just to
dance
with the guest.
Yeah, to dance with the guest. So it was. This is in the beginning. It was $150. I think when I left, it was $175. But now.
And you're talking about 10 years ago. I know the prices.
Oh yeah, they went up a lot.
A lot. But I'm
so
saying, like,
so she would hang out with you in your room. Say you were in room 1, and then she would go to another room. She'd have another guy, another $150.
And that's what they do. They bounce from room to room.
Yeah. If you wanted her exclusively, you had to pay like $500-$600.
Exactly. That's how it worked back then also. But back then they didn't bounce from room to room. They stayed with you the whole night.
Yeah.
Just later on, it just turned into. I guess they found a better way to make more money.
Yeah.
They bounce from room to room because they'll sit with you for like 15-20 minutes.
Exactly.
They'll go to the next room, sit with another guest for 15-20 minutes.
Yes.
And then maybe even a third room. So for a night they could make 5, 6, 7, 800 with.
Oh yeah. They were walking out sometimes. Out of everybody in the club, like, you had the waiters.
And that's just sitting with the guests drinking.
Yeah.
And you're talking about 10 years ago, that was the rate.
Oh yeah. They made very good money. And the waiters made money, but you know what? Like, we all tried to take care of each other. Like if the waiter had his friends coming in, I would take care of them. Like, if somebody walked out of the room and they left a bucket of beer, and the waiter had his boys in there, I would take the bucket of beer and bring it in the room and and give it to them. It was a different job. It was I'd get home at 5 a.m. The hours were kind of rough, but I kind of enjoyed working there. If I had one partner, I was lucky, and you really had to trust that guy, because when shit hit the fan, it was you and him. We would put our backs to each other, and we would just protect each other. But the fights weren't. I mean, when the clubs were new, it depends how high they were, how many drugs they were doing. I remember. The one club about 2014, 2015, they were coming in with some shit. It was like in an aluminum packet, and they would put it in the green tea. And we would go in the room, and the kid was on the floor kicking the walls. He was drooling, and that was kind of scary, because you don't want them to die in the club, and then then the cops come, and it's a disaster.
Brings attention to the place.
Yeah.
Now, how many girls typically work in, for example, the club that you worked at?
Well,
how big was it? How many rooms?
The first club I was in was only like 12 rooms.
12 rooms.
So maybe you had like 10. And then the second club I was in was like 20-something rooms. So then sometimes you'd have up to 20 girls, 22 girls,
So there would be one mama san or two?
Oh, sometimes we have 3 or 4.
3 mama san.
Yeah.
Bring the lineup.
Yeah. They would come in, line up against the wall, and the guys would pick who they want to hang out with, and they would do it. I mean, you had an assortment of customers. Some were businessmen that owned bakeries, restaurants. Some were straight up gangsters. Some were drug dealers. I remember one night, I had a full blown fight with this guy, and he walked in. It was the end of the night. I was outside. He walked in. He walked past me, so I just tapped him on the back of the shoulder. So he swung with his hand like this, and he missed me, and I ducked. and I clipped him. I did what I had to do, and it was a big fight, and I threw him through the doors. Supposedly he was going to come back with a gang. He was going to kill me. So the next day I remember coming to work, and the owner told me, he goes, Chris, he goes, that guy, I looked at the video, that guy didn't hit you. I go, of course he hit me. I'm not gonna hit him if he didn't hit me. So let's play the video. So he played the video, and I'm looking at it, and you see me touch him on the shoulder, and he turns around like this. He didn't have a closed fist. His hand was open, right? And he went like this. To me, that's an assault. He goes, no, he was just gonna smack you. I go, nobody's gonna smack me, William. It's not happening. I go, once somebody gets the first shot, and you could lose that, and I'm by myself, and he goes, he's a gang member. I go, okay. All right. So he goes, he's saying he's gonna come back with guns, he's got guys. I go, William, I brought 3 extra magazines just in case. He goes, you're gonna take them all on? If I have to, I'll try. What am I gonna do? What am I not gonna come to work anymore? I go, I had so many people threaten me in my career, 20 years. I worked in Flatbush. I said, look, whatever happens, happens. But the one thing I didn't like is he ended up letting this customer come back in, and for the simple fact, of money. It's all about money. And the guy had, big bread. But, he told me, I want you to apologize. No, that's not happening, because I wasn't wrong. If I was wrong, I would apologize. He goes, I want you to show him face. I go, I'll show him face, but I'm not shaking his hand. I'm not, it's not about that, And then I remember 2 months later, the same guy, he's in a room where I can see through the window, and he's in there with his girlfriend, and I'm watching through the window, and he takes a beer bottle and he throws it at his girlfriend. He misses her head by like an inch. So I remember telling the owner, I go, yo, he just went to smash her in the head with a bottle. I go, I'm not taking that, bro. I go, either he's out or I'm out. And it got a little ugly back then, But all the years I'm doing that, I'm talking, I can count on one hand how many fights I had, And for the most part, my experience in the club, everybody was respectful. I made a lot of friends. After a couple of years of doing it, they trusted me. They would come up to me and, hey, Chris, you want some weed? I go, yeah, all right, I'll have a little weed, I guess. Yeah. And they open up the bag. They got like 4 or 5. I go, no. I don't know people like that, And
4 or 5 pounds.
Yeah, 4, 5, 6, 7 pounds, and you know what? Even though like I wanted nothing to do with that, it felt nice that they trusted me. Like we built trust over the years.
So nothing happened to you because probably he found out that you were a cop and they didn't do anything to you. They didn't want to bring heat upon themselves. So
yeah, it was that, and like after 3-4 years of being retired, the cop leaves you. Like yeah. I'm out 10 years, so you have to change your thinking. You're no longer a cop. And plenty of times I go in the room. Their specialty was they like this ketamine stuff, and I wouldn't bust their balls. I would tell them, hey, Shafia, get a little tip, yeah, and they would hook me up. I'd let them stay 10 minutes later.
So
I would
picked up some Chinese words.
Yeah, over the years, of course, you have to,
Well, one thing you got to understand about the Chinese culture is one thing is about face. If you make them lose face, then they're...
Oh, that's tremendous.
Yeah, tremendous.
They want to kill you. Yeah.
They would wait years. Sometimes.
Yes.
Just to get their revenge. Another thing is when you tap someone on the shoulder, for my viewers who are Asian, you would know this. Maybe that's why he got offended.
Mm-hmm.
If this guy is a gambler, the last thing you want is anyone to tap you on the shoulders. Okay, they're very superstitious about that. Okay, tapping him on the shoulders, he probably had the intention of gambling that day, and now that you touch his shoulders,
I don't know.
He's like, that's it, I can't gamble because someone touched my shoulders.
Yeah.
So those of you who are Asian and you're viewing this video right now, make a comment below, okay? So this is one thing you didn't understand about the Asian culture, right?
Yeah, no.
Tapping someone on the shoulders like this, and if you're a gambler,
yeah,
especially if they're gambling,
yeah,
at the baccarat table,
gambling's tremendous.
Playing at the mahjong
yeah.
table, do not tap them on the shoulders.
Yes, yes.
All right.
They're very superstitious when it comes to the gambling, and you know what? I mean, it's incredible, like the amount of money they would put up on the bar, and nobody would steal $1. They'd put $200-300. You know, I remember, like when I was in a 6-1, I had one robbery case. It was an Asian fella. He was in his 60s. He was like 68, 69, and he was robbed by four male blacks, and they one guy put a knife to his throat. So we ended up catching that one individual. So I remember we had to conduct a lineup, and I thought he understood me, but I don't think he did. I think he was just yesing me now. So we went to the shelter, Atlantic Avenue. We got 5 fillers, and I put together a lineup. So he looks at the lineup, and he goes, "Oh, I see you got them all." Right then and there, I was like, "Oh my God!"
It goes out the window.
yeah. But you know what? Looking back now, we all laugh, and some of those things you just never forget. Yeah. I you know what? For the most part, I worked in the 6-1 only for 2 years, and the Asian community really, they don't call 911. They don't. They very rarely call us. So if we're called to that end of the precinct, it's usually something really serious.
I remember this case I had. It was in Chinatown. A Hispanic kid robbed this Chinese kid of his cell phone, and shot him.
Wow.
What happened was I was the one who made the arrest, and after an investigation, we found out who he was. Made the arrest, and I processed the whole arrest, and placed him in a lineup, photo array, the whole 9 yards, and went to court, and he was ultimately convicted, and he served several years in prison for that. Assault 1. Then many years later, I bumped into this Hispanic kid, the same Hispanic kid, in the streets.
Wow. Wow.
While I was working, I was in my suit and tie, and in front of the 7-2 precinct.
Wow.
So he walked up to me, and I'm looking at him like, who is this guy? It was years later. He came up to me, he extended his hand, shook my hand, right? And I'm like, who are you? I don't remember him. He goes, you remember you were the one who arrested me for that shooting?
They always remember you. Yeah, we don't always remember them. Exactly. Yeah, that's scary.
And then I said, yeah, I remember. Right?
Wow.
Then he goes, I want to thank you. I said, for what? For treating me with respect. Right?
Wow.
For treating me with respect. He says, I turned my life around, but I wanted to thank you and shake your hand. And I said, I'm happy to hear that.
Wow, that's great.
I'm happy to hear that you're out of trouble, stay out of trouble, and turn your life around, because I love these stories. Well, my take on it is, after the feds picked up everybody under the RICO, I mean, that's it. I mean, why would anyone continue doing what they're doing with organized crime? I mean, the feds are still going to be around. I mean, we've done investigations. We don't just go away. No. I mean, especially the feds, with all the resources they have.
The technology now is incredible.
You really can't get away with anything nowadays.
No.
If they want to get you, they will get you.
They got you.
Even the NYPD, if they're focused on getting you, they'll get you, because it's just all about money and resources. How much they put into a case. Oh yeah. Right?
Yeah. If you're a very, very important person and you're from a wealthy family, you're gonna have a team of detectives working on your case.
They'll set a task force.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's true. They'll pull bodies from all over the borough
It's true.
To help you work on the case.
It's true. It's true.
Right? So how are you going to go up against a team of detectives who's working solely on your case?
You don't want to commit a serious crime in New York City.
That garners media attention. Forget it.
No, you're gonna get caught. They're gonna get you.
They will get you. They're gonna have, even the district attorney's office, they're gonna assign a special handpicked prosecutor
Yes.
to get you. So crime doesn't pay nowadays with technology.
Not here, at least.
Right?
You know,
all the technology that we have available at our disposal.
Yeah, you're not going to get away with things like you used to.
Right?
No way.
We have Taru. They tap the phones. They check the video cameras.
Yes.
We have computer crimes.
Yes.
They'll drop subpoenas on your phone, get everything out of your phone, and IP address. Where
I remember 2004.
We got auto crime plate readers, right?
Yeah,
it's everything.
It's endless.
Endless.
It's really endless.
If they're gonna build a case on you, they're gonna guess how we worked those cases back then. It was pretty interesting.
Yeah. I remember in 2004, I had a homicide, and there was also a victim up in Buffalo, and I remember visiting the detective up in Buffalo that had the case, and he had a pile of cases on his desk, and I was asking him what he had on this one particular case, and he goes, I have nothing. He goes, listen, I'm assigned 10, 15 cases a day. I'm by myself. He goes, we don't have the resources that you have in the city. We went down there with 3 guys, just for the weekend, and they really don't have the resources. They don't have what we have here, and it's amazing how many different ways can catch you here. And I was proud to be part of an organization like that, and it was fun. For the most part, it was fun. I had a really good career. I enjoyed it. But just like doing security in the KTV, there comes a time when it's your time. It's your time to leave, and it was my time.
Well, for those criminals out there who didn't get caught, it's because you're not important enough.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah,
if you were
exactly.
important enough, oh, believe me, if they want you, they'll get you.
Yeah, they want you, they got you. Yeah.
Especially the feds with unlimited resources. There's no way.
No
way.
No way at all.
They'll get you, and they know everything.
That's the truth.
So that's why sometimes I don't understand. Like, you got the feds arresting the Chinese mob, the Italian mob after the first wave. Then you still have people continue doing it. The same criminal activity.
They think they're going to be smarter than the last guy.
You think the feds just okay, we're going to pack up, go away after the first wave?
No.
Then you have the second wave of RICO come down in Chinatown.
Yeah.
And then it's all right, haven't you guys learned your lesson?
Yeah, it doesn't end. It doesn't end.
It's you don't think after the first wave, the feds going to have the informants,
yes,
and they plant their people in there, and
yes,
they're just gonna okay, we're finished, we got out,
we're done,
we got out, let's leave, goodbye.
No, it's not like that. No way.
So for the Italians and the Chinese organized crime, the feds still lingering around, right? It just doesn't close.
Yeah, they're not going anywhere.
They're not going anywhere.
No, it's the truth, man. It's the truth. Right. That's the truth.
We've done investigation for, between me and you combined, we probably have a
long time. Yeah, a long time.
Wow, maybe over almost 40 years of experience.
Yeah. It was a good time.
Yeah, it was fun.
Everything comes to an end, though.
It wasn't fun when you catch a case and you're about to go home.
Oh my God!
Then you stay there for days.
I know. You're leaving at what, 11:30, 11:15. You get a call on the radio. 4 people shot on this area in Flatbush Avenue. You're like, oh, you wouldn't come home for days.
Yeah.
It was a lot of work. It was a lot of paperwork, and you have to be totally committed when you're a detective compared to being a cop. And
I guess if you didn't land a job as a cop, what do you think you would have become?
You know what? Me, I don't know. I could do almost anything. Like I could fix a car. I probably would open a body shop. You know, I was going to school to be an electrician, and I got thrown out of that school. I got thrown out of school for fighting, I remember. And then they put me in my zone school, and I was happy because I was with all my friends, you know. But who knows, you know? I don't think we choose our own career. I think it's planned out, you know.
Any chance you may have taken the wrong path? That, you know, there's a chance that you could have took the wrong path and get involved with like criminal activities?
Oh, well, I grew up in a rough neighborhood, you know, really, really bad neighborhood in Staten Island, and you know, I was a really good cop. I mean, I was a really good cop, you know, and you know, I was rewarded. I had an unmarked car. I had my own computer. The commanding officer of the precinct would give me steady days off.
There's a question from a subscriber of mine that I remembered. Do you think it takes a criminal mind to be a good cop?
Yes, absolutely,
right?
absolutely.
I mean, you really have some naive cops out in the suburbs coming working
in the city. They're clueless.
They're clueless.
They're clueless. They're good with their paperwork, their computers.
They could be the house mouse. They could,
yeah. I remember
work the computers.
You'd have a robbery right here, say, you know, on 8th Avenue, right? You'd have a robbery, and you have 20 cars sitting there. How about looking for the guy that robbed her, you know? And I would always think in my head, where would I go if I just robbed her? Where would I go? Would I go to the train station? Would I go down here? And when you think like that,
you're a couple of steps ahead.
Yeah, you
have that. And plus, you grew up in a rough neighborhood, so you experience it. You know the mentality.
Yes,
you know.
It's gonna make you a better cop, a better street cop, and you know, it helped me, and you know, and I was rewarded. I was rewarded for the most part, but I remember like when everybody was getting promoted to be, you know, to become detectives. With me, the commanding officer was like, I can't lose you on midnights. You know, you're bringing in good activity, and I was one of the last ones. You know, it was a job where hard work, you got more work. If you were lazy, they left you alone, the supervisors. You know, but that's because they needed, you know, they needed a job done. If something was going on in the precinct, a condition, it had to be addressed, and you know, it was a good time. It really was, you know.
How do you feel about internal affairs?
Well, you know what, they have a job, you know. You know, you know, you had cops in the past, Michael Dow, you had different guys, and you know, they deserve everything they get. You know, I mean, me particular, I could never went to a unit like that, because there's plenty of other units where I'm doing police work. I didn't want to investigate my own, you know. I just didn't want to do that.
How do you feel about your own investigating your own?
What do you mean?
Do you think there should be like
oversight
outside investigators investigating the NYPD for corruption?
Well, there is. You have the IG's office. The IG, I believe, I'm not positive, they'll look over internal affairs. But then I guess who looks over the IG, right? Where does it end, you know? I never really got too much involved in that, you know. I remember we went through you know, there was a big case, something that happened in my precinct, and I remember we thought the feds were bugging our car. And I remember the vents in the car. We were pulling them out, looking for cameras. We played a radio really loud, whispering in each other's ears, you know. And it's not because I did anything. It's just, even if you heard something, like if you were the cop that did something, and I knew about it, and I said something to someone, that was enough to get you fired, maybe even put incarcerated. So that, you know, that was kind of scary. You know, it's not just controlling your own actions now. You go to a scene, you have to worry about what another cop is doing, and if he does something wrong and you knew about it, you're done, and that's stressful when you have to worry about somebody else's actions. You know, it's hard enough to you know, worry about yourself and what's going on. You know, it was interesting. You know, I feel bad for the guys that are on now. You know, it's really a tough time the last couple of years, and you know, you can't, you know, take one bad apple and say, hey, a million guys are the same way. They're all, you know, they're all like that. You know, it's tough. I wouldn't want to do it now. You know,
knowing what you know now, and you've experienced being a cop during that time.
Yeah.
Would you do all over again?
If it was the way it was?
Yes.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
How about the changes now? Would you take the job now?
No way.
Before the changes?
No way. I wouldn't have done this job. I would have been a fireman. You know, a fireman or a garbage man. Yeah. I had one other Asian victim when I was in the 6-1 also, and there was he got robbed in Marine Park, and he was delivering Chinese food, and this fella, he was I think he was like 19 or 20 at the time. He was going on a crime binge. He ordered the Chinese food to Marine Park. When the kid got there, it was disgusting. He cracked a 40-ounce beer bottle open, and he stuck him in the throat with the beer bottle, and he stole the food, he stole his car, he stole his money. To make a long story short, he robbed several Russian women in the neighborhood. It was a very hard case. We followed him. He robbed a school teacher at a Catholic school. She was a teacher there for 42 years, and he beat her up really bad. He hit her in the eye, her mouth, her teeth came out, and we ended up catching him. And you know, it's so hard sometimes to keep your composure. You know, you feel for these people, and when you're looking at this guy and you know he did it, you had him on video, you know, it's only human to feel like you want to hurt him. Mm-hmm. And I didn't. Mm-hmm. So I refused to interview him right away. Mm-hmm. I had my female partner interview him because I knew my temper was just, you know, it was over the top for the crimes that he committed. Mm-hmm. And, you know, the sad part about it is, like, the victim, you know, he suffered, you know, big time injuries. He was in the hospital for almost a month. Mm-hmm. When he got out, you know, I wanted him to testify, and he wouldn't go to court. And it's not because of any other reason, but he had to make a living. He had to go back to work. And this is what he told me: I have to pay the bills. I'm going to lose my job. You know, I was already in the hospital for a long time. If I go to court, I'm gonna lose my job, and I have no way to pay my bills. And it was okay because the other victims came forward, but you know, you got to feel for a guy like that. You know, it was terrible.
Yeah, and you know, especially the amount of years that you put in for the department and all these things that you see. Sometimes don't you feel like you get desensitized? I mean, you do feel for them, but you can't take it home with you because you're going to be miserable. Yeah,
unfortunately I did. And you know, it caused problems for me in my personal life, you know.
That's why you need to learn how to compartmentalize everything and put that aside, because the amount of stuff that we see on this job, you know, it's so sad.
Yeah.
But on a good note, I want to give a shout out to Callie. Hello, Callie. Today what happened was she found a wallet, and in the wallet was a person's credit card, driver license, and $1,400 in cash.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So she called me up because I had my business card in there. Mm-hmm. And she called me up and asked me if I know this person. I didn't recognize the name, but then I said, okay, I'll come pick it up and I'll return it to the person. You know,
oh wow!
I'll do a little investigation and I'll return it to the person. And then I found out that it was a friend's son.
Oh wow!
Yeah, so that's why he had my business card.
Oh wow, that's
luckily,
great.
There was my phone number in his wallet. So a shout out to Callie. Thank you. Good karma for everybody.
That's good.
So on that note, we're gonna continue this conversation another day. All right?
Sounds good.
It was a pleasure talking to you.
You too.
And we got plenty of stories to share.
Oh, too many, unfortunately.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.